last cello calls of the season. Got a couple more. We got 5 football games this weekend. I'm including the Ohio State Notre Dame game.
Sure.
5 big ones. This is probably the best weekend, I think, of the NFL playoffs.
Every year. Yeah. Always is.
But I was saying to Brad the other day, man, I'm already kind of it's winding down. I think the high point of the gambling season was in the rear view mirror. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, there's not a lot of junk out there that's left. I mean, when I always know when you get that email that the golf pool is starting, that we're getting close,
Yeah, but also just like, the full card of games on Red Zone and like all the bad teams and handicapping the bad teams, like they're all gone now. They're just gone.
I know. It's so incredible how we have been so blessed with Red Zone. And it hasn't been around that long, like in terms of, I think it's 10 years maybe, or I don't even know if it's that long.
I was going to say, that sounds like a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe at this point.
But honestly, we went through that phase where like, if you didn't have direct TV and you were trying to get the Sunday ticket, and that was the whole thing. And that whole thing just failed. Like people, first of all, nobody wanted the dish on their roof, and then you had to pay for the package. And then the rest of the year, they had nothing on that made any sense. And the signal wasn't great and bad weather and all this shit. And then like Red Zone came along, and the explosion to fantasy football obviously is huge for Red Zone, but also like these online gambling sites. I mean, the in-game betting and all of this stuff. It's like, it's just a frenzy. And as manic as Red Zone is, and it is manic for a lot of people. Like I have friends that'll sit down and they'll just watch a regular game like we used to and watch your commercials and whatever. And like, they can't keep up with Red Zone. They don't understand it. They don't get the pace of it. It makes them anxious and nervous. It's like very weird. They're like, what do you, how can you even watch this? And we've just been so trained because we're degenerate gamblers, and the stats are so big for us and everything that's going on. And you don't want to miss anything. So it's just incredible. It's gotten to a point where we're yelling at Red Zone if they're on a game too long.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is where we are. Like, we're criticizing how slow they are of getting to games quicker. That's so funny.
Yeah, or how they don't show a certain game, or like,
right.
Yeah, sometimes I criticize Red Zone because it's almost like they like a certain game too much.
True, totally.
They just keep showing it.
Yeah, and Scott Hanson went to Newhouse. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did.
He's a Newhouse guy.
I knew that.
God, we honestly just dominate people. Syracuse.
We churn out broadcast journalists
in this business, man. It's fucking incredible what they do, how dominant they are. But yeah, listen, we got 4 games this weekend. Last weekend, my Steelers absolutely wrecked my night. I was out at a dinner party at friends that they've never had me over before. I thought I was pretty well behaved considering I drank like 3 Browns. But that first half was, I don't know if anybody had to sit through it. It was really embarrassing.
You were watching the game like at a party?
At a dinner party.
Wow. Where were you watching it?
In Belmore, Long Island.
No, but what device or what TV?
I was watching on a 70-inch screen.
Oh.
In the guy's living room. Yeah, it was on, and the only fun part of the night was I had $100 anytime touchdown George Pickens, and I gave him out to the host, my friend Justin. I said, Justin, George Pickens is going to score tonight. He's so infuriated by what the game he had last week, and they made fun of him in the locker room, the Ravens locker room. They were mocking him all week, saying that a certain cologne or something smelled like him or something. And I knew he was going to score, and he did. And the two of us were leaping around the living room. You should have seen it in the middle of a dinner party, hugging.
What were the odds?
Plus 230.
Oh,
yeah. Good. So I brought me back $330, which was good considering every other bet I make, I lose pretty much. So that was fun.
The tragedy for me, I'll rehash it a little bit with you now, was the Vikings. It was the game I liked right from the start. The minute they lost to Detroit, and I saw that open up at 2.5 on the road, I jumped on it.
Yep.
I had a $250 bet.
I remember.
And then the real tragedy was that I built a 7-team teaser with that included both college football, I believe. No, actually, only Ohio State was in that.
Mm-hmm.
The rest were NFL games.
But Minnesota's the one that killed you.
I had all six NFL games.
Yeah, they were not competitive in that game. First of all, I didn't realize. I don't know if you knew.
It was so I had all 6 NFL games in the Ohio State game. So
Yeah.
start off great. The Buckeyes win, and I'm pretty sure I didn't need the teaser for many of the games. I don't know. Either way, it was a relatively no sweat first 6 legs.
Mm-hmm.
The Washington game, I had Tampa -3. +3.
Yeah.
So that ended up pushing.
Yes.
And reducing the 7-teamer to a 6-teamer.
Yeah, the payout's less.
So it was 6-1 instead of 9-1. And then all I needed, and I ended up putting a nice teaser hedge in with Washington and the Rams.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a complete break even, but I had that $250 bet on the Vikings that I placed earlier in the week.
Yeah.
That was refunded.
Yeah, because they moved the venue.
Yes.
Which you said would happen. You told me that would happen. And then you said on this show that WANA doesn't do that.
We talked about it, right?
We did. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What's crazy is that they didn't refund it until the game ended.
Huh.
So I the whole time I thought I had action. So
well, actually, that's really beneficial for you. If I had money on the Rams, I'd be infuriated that bet was refunded.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Like they were getting 2.5 either way. Who cares where they play the game? If I would think that I'm wondering if only Viking money was refunded.
No. I think any bet that was placed prior to when the date, the location changed got refunded.
What doesn't make sense is that should have been refunded before kickoff.
That's right.
And then giving you the ability to make that bet again. They basically had a free ride on that. They free rode that game. Yeah. And they screwed people that had winners, and they gave people their money back.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it's silly.
That was so I don't think you were watching that game.
Rams, Minnesota. I had pickleball, and then I watched the end of it. Right. I watched it at the bar.
You had pickleball during the first half when
I watched it at the bar. Yeah.
Something happened in that. 2 things happened in that game from a referee perspective with no lip that would have absolutely blown your mind.
I was screaming lipless in the bar too.
He got sacked. I don't know. You probably saw the replay, and he decided to throw it away.
Yeah.
When he was about to get sacked.
Yeah.
And it was just such a pivotal moment of the game. The Vikings had a scoop and score.
Yeah, I saw it.
And they were down 7-3, and suddenly it was 10-7 Vikings.
Yeah, and it was an incomplete pass. Because he kind of threw it forward. He flipped it forward at Nakua's feet.
Well, he flipped it forward. That's all.
He said in the interview that he saw Nakua there and that he saw his cleats, and he just flipped the ball to his cleats.
Yeah, sure he did. And
Peyton Manning on the Manning cast was beside himself. He goes, "There's no way that was a forward pass."
So was Aikman.
Yeah.
Troy was like, Troy said during the broadcast, if you had any doubt that this was an offensive league, there's your proof.
That's it, right? And Belichick said the same thing on NFL. Listen, the defense, they're not going to give the defense anything. By the way, that should be a rule change. I'm all for that. I think that if you are in the grasp of and you can't just backhand flip a ball fucking into the ground like that. You're making a mockery of the game.
Well, I think the referees made an even bigger mockery of it, that they didn't get together there and say, you know what?
They did get together. They all got together.
Right. We're going to give it. We're going to not count that as a fumble, but obviously that is intentional grounding. I don't care how close Nakua was to him.
He was close.
It doesn't matter. He did that to avoid getting sacked.
Yes, 100%.
Period.
Yep, I agree.
And so that has to be a 15-yard penalty.
Let's talk about it this summer. That's got to be brought up in front of the rules committee this summer. Show that tape and be like, this is what guys are doing. You're letting them get away with this to avoid a sack. You have to change the rule.
It was also, some of it had to do with Stafford. Some of it had to do with the fact that it was a home field call. that was already like sort of gaining momentum. It was a very poorly officiated game.
Well,
And the
listen,
icing on the cake of the poor officiating came in the second half, I believe. And I've never seen this in my life. And it was so ironic that it happened in this game where they did not call a face mask on Darnold in the first game when he got face masked in the end zone. It was the most blatant face mask anyone had ever seen.
Yep, I remember. We talked about it. We talked about it.
There was a face mask on the running back, and there was no call on the field.
Mm-hmm.
After the play was over, Stafford started yelling at the referee, saying, "What about the face? Like, clearly the face mask. Like, we see players do this every week, all season long.
Yeah, well, they miss calls.
They yell for a face mask that wasn't called. Sorry, we missed it.
Right? They gave it to him. They gave it to him.
They got together.
Yeah.
And called there was never a flag on the field.
Yeah.
Aikman and what's his face, Joe Buck, were beside themselves. They were like, I don't think I've ever seen a penalty called when there's no flag. Are they even allowed to do that? Those were the words. Yeah. They called face mask. They got together and called. They came out and said face mask.
Yeah, I actually am okay with that. I actually think they should do more of that. I'm a big advocate that the eye in the sky should run the game. I've been saying that to you all year on this podcast, that I'm a big believer that the eye in the sky should run the game, that the referee should be told when they make a mistake immediately, and you should have thrown a flag there, penalize it. It was not a flag, pick it up. Okay. I'm a big fan of that. I think that should be discussed.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Right.
And I totally agree with you. Yeah. But as you and I both know, that's not how the game is played.
That's correct. No.
So to selectively choose a moment during that game to decide to do it.
Right. And it wasn't a Chiefs game, which is even weirder. Listen, a lot of this, your call on Minnesota was obviously could not have been more wrong. They allowed 9 sacks in a game, 9 sacks in a game. They were completely dominated. Sam Darnold turned the ball over twice. He looked horrendous at quarterback. He confused his reads. He was holding the ball way too long. He wasn't seeing the field properly. And even at times I saw in the second half when I was at the bar where he had some guys open over the middle, he threw it behind him in the ground. I'm telling you, he just, he became what we knew that he was the whole season. Now, ironically,
by the way, the pick six, the pick six.
Yeah.
So that's, those gambling moments in your house when no one really knows if you have a bet or not. Well,
it was apparent to everyone in Montclair that you had Minnesota.
I was sitting next to Anna, and she was like reading, and I was just like patiently watching that game, waiting for a comeback or something. And all of a sudden, he threw the pick six, and I just exploded, absolutely exploded. Oh, come on! like really, like something like that. It was so fucking great. So fucking obvious that I had money on it. And she's like, "What? Did you bet?
So good, man. It's so great.
Of course I bet. God damn it.
It's so incredible. Like regular people that don't, you know what I'm saying? There's so many more regular people in the world than there are gambling degenerates like us. Their response to that must just be unbelievable.
And I gotta say, I was very proud of myself for how I handled that. Like, it was my biggest bet of I believe so strongly in it, and yet at the same time, I was like, I didn't get out of control. I didn't get personal with people or race or anything.
You were fine. You were fine, dude. Listen,
you know what? I lost.
Well, listen, that game. What's interesting about Minnesota to me is that the 4 losses they had all year, 2 were to Detroit and 2 were to the Rams. So they beat everybody else in the league, which is really unbelievable if you think about it,
All right.
You got to give the Rams credit, man. You got to give the Rams credit.
So you were okay with the Steelers, let's get into it. But
I was not okay with the Steelers. It ruined my night. It ruined my weekend. It ruined a lot of things for me. All my bets were wiped out that I had. I had illusions of grandeur of Russell Wilson competing for a Super Bowl at 85-1. All that money was flushed down the toilet.
I know.
I had Steelers plus 10, which I thought for sure they would cover. And at 21-0, they had no chance. The defense is a joke. Mike Tomlin is a joke of a coach. He is never prepared. If you look at his record in the playoffs, we are losing by 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first half of every playoff game. It is the most unbelievable thing. The defense, which is the second most highest paid defense in the league.
I think they're the highest. Yeah.
Was incapable of stopping the run. Incapable. Unacceptable.
You know what? That couldn't have surprised you that much.
Yes, it did. Because
you thought you would. I'll
tell you why. They had no Zay Flowers. If Belichick knows that your number one receiver's out, he'll put 10 guys in the box and he will force them to throw.
Yeah.
And you know what? If we're going to lose to Bateman or Likely or Andrews, that's okay. I'd rather lose to those guys in one-on-one than lose to Lamar and Derrick Henry running the ball down our throat for 300 fucking yards in a game. It's embarrassing.
Yep.
And now Tomlin's being defended, and they're not going to fire him because the Steelers will not fire a coach. It's never the coach's fault. So there's a lot needs to be done with the team. Listen, there's a lot of free agents. We don't have a quarterback. We're going to let some guys go. They're talking about trading Minka. TJ Watt might be traded because he makes too much money and he hasn't made a play in 7 weeks. So there's a lot of anger there, but still 10-win season. I don't know. Like I was texting you, do you feel better as a Browns fan just not being good all year and not even making the playoffs than what I have to go through to watch that performance in a playoff game and lose every year in the first round? What would you rather be?
I would probably say what I went through.
Yeah, because at least you're going to get a draft pick.
Yeah.
Right, and you have a chance to rebuild.
Yeah, and
the problem with the Steelers is they never suck, so we never get anybody.
Right.
So we just muddle through an easy regular season, and then when it comes time to win big games against real teams, we can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talented enough, and certainly we're not well coached enough. So anyway, we'll let that die.
Double-edged sword, because
I know
you are well coached enough to win 10 games with what you have.
Right.
Which is more than the Browns are like the rest of the league.
It's more than a lot of teams in the league. And that does carry some weight. And I do give credit to Tomlin. And listen, Tomlin would be hired within 24 hours if he was fired.
Yeah, they would never. I agree with you. They wouldn't fire him. He would have to leave unless everyone thought when this season started that he was going to have, for the first time, a losing season.
And they were wrong again.
He didn't. I always say this about Pittsburgh. He gets the absolute most out of what he has
in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, he is completely unprepared.
Well, I don't know about being unprepared or just
Jack, we are the most expensive defense in the NFL. We fucking get blown out of every game.
Yeah.
We cannot allow a 95-yard drive on the first drive. And I'll tell you what else he did, and I said it immediately. And you know how I feel about this. We won the toss, and that fucking moron took the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Never take the ball. There isn't a scenario you could tell me where I don't want the ball in the second half. Not a single scenario where I don't want the ball.
Right.
Stupid. And the minute he did it, I'm like, we lost. It's over. This fucking guy got out coached already, and they haven't even kicked the ball yet.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my frustration. Steelers are done, and we got some great games this weekend. I think these games are really going to be fun to watch, and I think it's going to be very intriguing.
All right, so let's go through the card. We start off on tomorrow afternoon with Houston at the Chiefs. Current line at wannamakabet.com is 10? No.
Yeah.
Is it that high?
It is in Want to Make a Bet. I think around the betting world is probably more like 9.5.
Okay, it's 10. We got 10 on both these. 10 and 42.
The numbers for the total is 42?
Yeah.
You want to start on this one, or you want me to?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. I mean,
okay.
I'll keep it pretty simple on this
one.
It's funny. I thought that last weekend I held my nose and I bet on Houston, and I liked them on the podcast, as you know, and it was really based on the fact that they would sort of snap out of the funk that they had been in most of the second part of the season. And I thought I was dead wrong at the beginning of the game. I mean, they were not playing well.
They were getting dominated.
Chargers were dominating them. And it all came, the whole game came down to that one play on the fumbled snap. And he scrambled around on 3rd and forever. Sort of, I think he was even in his own end zone during that play. And
that ball bounced right up to him too. So lucky.
Yeah, and threw a 40-yard pass, and they scored right before the half, and they got the ball back and scored again. Suddenly, that game that was 6-0. And look, I wrote to you guys in the group text. I was like, congratulations. We lost. Houston sucks. We lost. That is what I think is going to happen this week. I think Houston, that awakening was so lucky and so uncharacteristic for them. And I'm not gonna, I don't believe that, incredible defensive performance in the second half. But again, part of my handicap was that the Chargers just really didn't have the wide receivers to take advantage or perform in that game. And a lot of it, I said, was tied to, just how good Stingley Jr. and Lattimore, right?
Lassiter. Yeah.
Were in that game, and they were incredible.
They were great.
They completely shut them down.
So were the defensive ends were great too.
Right. I mean, my God.
Anderson and Hunter.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter. They have the best 2 defensive ends. And I worry a little bit that with the Chiefs, because they have the left tackle. They have that issue. They've had it all year long, so that could be something. But I don't know. I don't think it's part of me thinks that, just like we talked about all year long, the Chiefs laying this kind of a number just seems too high. So I'm tempted to take Houston, just on that alone. Yep. But I'm not going to do it. I think the right side is like putting the Chiefs in some kind of a teaser and getting it earlier in the week when it was 8.5. And you can still, if you shop around, not want to make a bet, but you can find 8.5s out there. There's 9s, probably 9 is the number right now. But I had a feeling they would kind of squeeze all the teaser players out of, betting that 2.5 pretty early. And I think that's kind of what happened. But I don't like the Chiefs laying 10. At the same time, I can't imagine going and betting Houston in a game like this, thinking that you're going to get the same performance that you got, against the Chargers. It's a much different offense that they're playing. Even though the Chiefs offense hasn't been great this year, they're orders of magnitude better than the Chargers. So it's not a huge play for me. I still like Chiefs in a teaser, and I like Chiefs in a teaser from 3 or 4 days ago, but I would not lay 10. What do you think?
So it's a skip for you.
At 10, yes.
You're not betting it.
A Chiefs teaser is what I would be looking for.
Okay. Yeah. So my take on this game is pretty simple. I like the Texans with the 10, and I like the Chiefs to win the game. The Chiefs are going to win this game, and they're not going to cover. Chiefs do not cover double-digit spreads. They win every time Mahomes has been in a division round. He has won. He is 6-0 in this round. He has 16 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the division round in his life. Yeah. He's averaged about 300 yards passing in these games. They've never covered. They're 0-6 against the spread in these games. So that's the way I think it's going to play. I was smart enough or lucky enough, I think, who knows, game hasn't been played yet, so what do I know? But I did get Kansas City when it was -8. I got them down in a 3-teamer to +2.
Oh, wow.
So I have that. But I also bet the Texans +10. And I just think with the 2 defensive ends and with Lassiter and Stingley, they're going to do enough to hang around the game. My only concern in this game as a Texans backer is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon hurt himself in practice on Wednesday with an ankle. He, I think, has resumed practicing, but we need him. If you're a Texans backer and you don't have Joe Mixon, you have no chance to win this game. He is their best player. Him and Nico Collins make that thing go. Without him, their backup's not going to do it. So I would watch that injury. If he is not able to go, I would say do not bet Houston. But assuming that Mixon plays, I think Stroud's going to make enough plays to be in this game. I think he's got some experience from the last couple of years of being in these games and losing them. And I think they're going to lose again. But I think they do enough to hang around. I think 10 is too many points.
Yeah. Yeah, I generally agree with that. I don't know. There's nothing that makes me want to lay a number like that. At the same time, I'm not rushing to bet Houston. You know what I mean?
I think we have
I just don't want to bet the Chiefs at that
we
number.
have a very, 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 very good line at 10 in wantomakaebet.com.
Yeah.
Like super good line. Like
yeah.
I jumped on that line because I looked at FanDuel, I looked at Caesars, they're all at 9.5. And I even saw an 8.5 yesterday, which is crazy. So to me, 10 is a gift, and I'm not going to not take it.
It's funny that so we get our lines from Pinnacle, who's basically a market maker like Bet Online.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what's going on. Like it's like the offshore books want Houston money, and all the domestic books want Chiefs money.
Yeah, interesting is right.
Weird dynamic.
You don't normally see that.
Yeah. What do you think of the total in this game?
I don't really have an opinion on the total. I'm never good at really guessing points. I have no idea how it could go. I guess if I had to, I think if you like Kansas City, you probably like the under because you think their defense is going to kind of stymie them. And I think if you liked Houston, you probably think if they're going to backdoor that 10, that maybe they'd score that late score to keep them close enough to do it. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have much of an opinion on the total. I think, is it good? I think it's going to be probably cold in Kansas City, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you like Houston, you probably like the under. You think it'll be a defensive game, but I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I'm not
interested really in the total in that game. I do like a total in some of the other games, but not in that one.
Okay. Let's move on.
Just to recap, I have Kansas City in a 3-team teaser. I took them +2. And I have Houston +10. I'm going to try and win both of those bets.
I like that. That's a nice middle.
Yeah.
We got Saturday night, Washington also getting 10 at Detroit.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one? You want to go first?
I got to tell you, I've been super, super impressed with Jayden Daniels all year.
Yeah.
And you know that since week 1 that I just think the guy's at another level. He's so mature for his age. And he is really, I know there were some instances last week where he looked like he might be hurt. And you actually called that out on the pod that he's very frail and that he may get hurt. And there were some times where I know he was bleeding on his face and they tackled him a couple times around the ankle where he got up. And I'm like, wow, Jack might be right.
The hit, let me tell you, hit out of bounds. By the way, that may come true this week.
It's very possible. Listen, I think that this is a really tough one for me. My heart says Detroit is going to blow them out because I think the magic is probably going to run out for Washington, even though they had an amazing win on the road. I don't want to discount what they've done. I think the coaching has been good, and they're a young team. They're probably a little ahead of where they should be. Detroit is on a mission. Detroit is on a mission to win a Super Bowl. They've proven every time that they're going to do it. I can't imagine Detroit not putting up over 30 points. The question is Washington going to be backdoor this game? Is Washington going to backdoor this game and cover the 10? A lot of people like the over in this game. It is a really, really high total. And I think if the people that like the over probably think Washington is going to be able to score and hang in this game. And even if they're 3 scores down, 17 points down, maybe late they get a touchdown or whatever, they're 16 down, whatever it is, and they cover the spread. It's a really hard one for me. I took the 10 with Washington only because when I'm looking on the sites, I'm seeing 9s and 9.5s, and at Wana it's 10. So I couldn't resist the 10. But I also have Detroit in a 3-team teaser at Pick'em because I cannot imagine Detroit losing the game. And I don't want to lay the juice I'd have to lay for money line Detroit. So again, this is a similar thing for me. I took the 10 and I have the favorite in a teaser to win the game. So I'm trying to win both bets there with a middle.
Did you I don't know if you know the odds, what the odds are on a 2-team parlay with the Chiefs and Detroit?
Money line?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what you would have to lay, but
I think it would be pretty extraordinary odds.
Yeah, I think that I actually am curious.
I'm only laying 130 in the 3-teamer.
Yeah. because I think that's a bet that I'm interested in making. And if I just do it right now, actually, let me tee it up. So I would take the Chiefs minus 515, Detroit minus 550, and we'll get to this next, but the Eagles, I wouldn't take either Baltimore or Buffalo, but yeah, it's basically minus 110.
Okay.
You risk 100 to win 92.
Yeah.
So you basically have a money line parlay with those three, and you have them all at even money.
Right, and that's if you like Philly. That makes sense.
That's right.
Some of us don't, but we'll get to that. What's your feeling on this game with Detroit? I mean, do you think it's like, a situation where they're just gonna, the luck runs out for Washington and the story's over?
I do. I think it's a Detroit win and cover. I think there's like huge variance, meaning I kind of believe it'll be very close or not even close at all. I can't imagine that this game lands on 10. I don't know why. I just think that, and my personal belief is that Detroit is gonna just absolutely lay the hammer on these guys and this defense and just score at will. And their defense is good enough to, get stops. And the one statistic I just cannot get over, and it was the basis of my handicap for picking Tampa, was that the fourth down conversion rate of Washington is the most absurd. Like they're converting something like 85% of their fourth down conversions.
Yeah, they did it in the Tampa game. They were, I think, 1 for 2.
I just cannot believe
one of them was for a touchdown, and one of them they missed the touchdown on the first one. I was like, he should kick the field goal here. What is he doing? These coaches hate points, and he could have made it. I think, it was a close game at that time, and he could have just chipped into the lead and made it a 1-point game. And he went for it and threw it to Ertz, and they didn't get it. Defense held. Got the ball back.
There was only 2. The second one was to win the game, basically,
and that was unreal. That was unbelievable. That was such
he got stopped, but and I said it. I thought their luck would run out last week. It didn't. So I'm just gonna roll it into this week. I think it runs out this week.
Yeah.
Like great, and again, they're just going up against such a different. I don't think Detroit's defense is like world class or nearly as good as Philadelphia's. And I think it's great that Anzalone's back, but I think they'll get some very key stops, just like they did against the Vikings.
Honestly, Jack,
like they did many times this year.
I know, but I think a lot of that, I think this is what worries me about that data point that you just mentioned. Aaron Glenn got a lot of praise for that performance against Minnesota. To me, guys were open. Like Darnold missed throws in that game. He had touchdowns that he missed guys. So I'm not so quick to give Aaron Glenn a lot of credit in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that game was that the play on the field was indicative of the final score. I think that was a problem with their quarterback. And I said it at the time that I think Sam Darnold missed about 4 or 5 throws, 3 of them for touchdowns that he normally would make. So that worries me about Detroit. Jaden Daniels is a special player. Like he is going to score points on Detroit. I'm telling you right now that they're going to score 3 touchdowns in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Detroit. Mm-hmm. I'm banking on the fact that as good as Washington's defense played, and they played tough against Tampa Bay. They really did. I mean, the hits they were making, they were dragging guys to the ground. I mean, with violence. I don't know if you felt that way. I felt that way watching the game. To me, it was the only real game of the weekend last weekend. I thought every other game sucked.
Yeah.
Every other game sucked. This game was close. Tampa's a good team. And they went in there, and let me tell you, man, that was not an easy place. You could say what you want about Tampa, but Baker's been great all year. They have Mike Evans. He scored touchdowns. They had Bucky Irving. That defense made some they really impressed me last week. Now, can they do that to Detroit? Probably not. I mean, let's face it. Nobody does that to Detroit. Nobody does that to Detroit. But can they backdoor? Is Jaden with the ball down 10, 12, 14 late in the game? Can he backdoor that spread? I think he can.
Yeah.
I think that's going to make a lot of people very, very nervous. I don't think there's any way that they can
Detroit
win.
teasers. Like the amount of Detroit and Kansas City teasers that must be laid out there at wannamakabet.com, 3-teamers with
it's everything. I mean, listen, here, let me ask you this. Which of those teams do you think has a bigger chance of upsetting the favorite? The Texans or Washington?
Probably the Texans.
I would agree with that. Despite Jaden being a better quarterback than Stroud, Detroit is way too good on offense. Like,
way too good.
They're just too good. And Kansas City, as good as they are, sometimes on offense, you like, they don't look that great, you know. Like,
one of the bets I'm considering, and it's the Detroit Lions team total of 33.5. Like, I'd almost rather not mess around with whether they're going to cover or not.
I like over that.
Right. And to just say they can score 35 points on these guys, no problem, because they have a terrible defense. And if I don't believe they have a great defense, which I agree with you. Like, I think, like, looking at that Minnesota game, plus many games this season, plus their overall, like, I just think their DVOA rank of defense is artificially high. And we saw them give up a lot of points to high-powered offenses.
Well, they have a lot of guys on IR. I mean, they have a lot of defensive starters that aren't playing, and eventually you have backups in, you know, they're backups for a reason.
Yeah. But just think about, you know, like, and I agree with you, Washington can score.
Yeah.
And if Jaden has a good game, and they have weapons, and you know, McLaurin's amazing. They got Ertz.
Dude, Noah Brown and that fucking guy Zacchaeus. Like, these guys are good.
Yeah.
And they're the 2 and the 3 receivers are no joke.
I know.
What I loved about what Amon-Ra St. Brown said, though, is so great. He goes, that guy Noah Brown, he goes, they drafted him before me. He goes, I'm gonna have I got something for them this Sunday. Like, he's like one of those guys that holds a grudge against every team that didn't fucking draft him.
Right.
That's the way Amon-Ra. A lot of these receivers are like that. He is really like that.
Well, a lot of professional athletes are like that. They'll just make something up.
They just get slighted. Well, receivers, I think, because they're such prima donnas. You know, like, they all think they're the best.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I can't get there with Washington. I could get there easier with Houston.
Yeah.
But not. I won't be on Washington this week.
Okay.
I
understand. Yeah. You haven't been really with Washington with me all year, and I understand that. I just think this guy Jaden Daniels is a special player, and I think he's going to be prepared. I mean, that doesn't mean he's going to win. I would be stunned if they won. Really, I don't. I think Detroit is on a mission to win the Super Bowl, or at least to get there. I'm not sure if they'll win it, but I'd really be shocked if they didn't get to the Super Bowl this year. I don't care who they play.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of see this game as like them trying to take over the clock, run the ball right down their throats.
And I got Montgomery back too. It's big for them. They got Montgomery and Gibbs.
The running game is just going to be dominant and control the clock, control the run, control the line of scrimmage, you know, run it down their throats.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, Jack, is this. There has to be something to be said, and I wish I knew the exact numbers, but there has to be something for these teams that have a bye that didn't have to play last week. And you know, everyone who gambles always reacts to the last thing they see. It's like a recency bias. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that think that Washington and the Texans, like me, like, wow, 10 points after what they did last week. Like, that seems like so many, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know the exact numbers, but I think a lot of those teams that get to sit, unless you're the Steelers, of course, because we would fucking lose that game every time. But most teams probably just, you know, are rested and prepared, and they just come out and they do what they have to do. They're like, we got to win 3 games and that's it. So there's something to be said for that.
Don't forget, 3rd straight road game for Washington.
I know. And listen, and we'll talk about this game next. I mean, the Rams are facing an uphill climb here. They had to play a Monday night fucking game. I mean, that's ridiculous, you know?
So let's move on to that. So you like Washington. I like Detroit.
Yes. Although I have Detroit in the teaser to win the game.
Okay. Yeah. You want to go first on the Rams, Philly?
I will do it. Listen, I'm going to fall into this trap of McVay and Stafford, and I'm going to do it because I think two things. Number one, they got killed by Philly early in the year at home. They were banged up and injured. They couldn't stop the run. Saquon had the night of his life, and they got embarrassed on national TV. McVay and Stafford have obviously won a Super Bowl together, and the last time they did it, they actually were in this scenario where they had to play a Monday night game, and they had to go on the road the next week, and they won that game. And that's one of the only teams that have ever done that. Most of those teams never win. So they can run the ball with Kyren Williams. I think their defense has really gelled. If you look at their last 4 games, I don't think they've let up more than 20 points. I mean, you can look at the final scores down the stretch. The defense has really come alive. And that was the biggest problem I had with the Rams is how are they going to stop anybody? But for a while there, their offense looked shaky, but they were winning games like 16-6, or they had the Seattle game, they had the Arizona game, and even last week, the defense obviously with the 9 sacks. So I think this will be a close game, and I think 6 points is too many. I don't know whether the Rams will win this game. I think it would shock some people if they did, but there are a lot of people that are in the camp that the Rams can go on a run here to the Super Bowl, and that Stafford would not be overwhelmed to go to Detroit and beat his old team. So it's a big game. I think Philly on paper is a better team. I mean, they have the best offensive line probably in football, maybe right behind Detroit. You're probably splitting hairs. They have the greatest running back. They have 2 great receivers. The quarterback's a little bit of a concern. I mean, Jalen Hurts is, I don't know if you want to put him as an elite quarterback. I wouldn't. But Stafford, if they have Nakua and Kupp and Kyren Williams, and they can run the ball and stay in the game. If they could be in the game in the fourth quarter, I think they can cover.
Okay.
So I think 6 is a lot in this game. So I'm going to take the 6.
Okay. I disagree. I love Philly, and I'm hoping that I'm not like holding a personal grudge after the Viking game, and I don't think I am. Like a lot of what I saw during that game was just the Vikings just gashing them with the run. I see that repeating itself in spades with Philadelphia. They cannot stop the run.
You mean this past game? Do you think Minnesota ran on them?
They did. They ran like very well. They didn't. I thought the coaching was terrible, and the times that they ran, like they ran it on first down every single time. Like their offense was incredibly predictable, but there were several times where they were just wildly running on this defense. So I think Philadelphia will have their way there. I think they, I don't think the Rams belong in this game. I think they should have lost the last game to the Vikings, and this is a game like the Vikings should have been in. So I know they're playing with house money.
Wow.
Second straight road game. Maybe I was wrong last week in my handicap saying that, the LA Fires and all the baggage that comes with that was actually going to be the reason why they weren't going to play well against the Vikings.
Clearly you were wrong about that.
Oh yeah. Not only was I wrong, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
They played the most inspired football of any team last weekend.
Right. And why wouldn't that continue this week?
Because I think it was a one-trick pony.
But wait, they're not inspired to win a Super Bowl for Los Angeles and the Fire? They're not going to play like that this week, the same way they played with the same inspiration? They're not going to draw from that?
No.
Oh, I think they will. And I think McVay is going to make adjustments. He knows what they did wrong in that first game, that they could not stop Saquon. I'm going to tell you this. I don't think Saquon's going to get 100 yards on the ground this game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm a big believer that when you get a rematch of a game in the NFL, it's a different script. Like McVay is not going to allow Saquon Barkley to beat him again. So if you're going to tell me that Devonta Smith and that AJ Brown are going to do it and Goddard, then I would say, you know what? Good for them. If they can do it, and they can, but if they can, and they're going to beat one-on-one coverage, then that's the way Philly's going to win. But I'm telling you, I don't believe McVay is too smart of a coach to allow that to ever happen again. What happened to him on national TV? There's no way that he is not going to commit to stopping Saquon Barkley. And you know what? If they key on Saquon and they make Jalen tuck it and run, that guy's one concussion from fucking being out of the game, and you got Kenny Pickett in there. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be a benefit to the Rams. Focus on Saquon on the RPOs. Make Jaden tuck it. Anytime they run an RPO, make sure you have the guy on Saquon every time and let Jaden run the ball. I mean, Jalen. And if Jalen is going to run the ball and put his head down, he better be careful, dude. Because that guy literally, his brain was scrambled. That guy was out for 3 weeks with a concussion. So
I keep going back to that key stat as was part of my handicap for the Vikings game, which is the 23rd ranked pass defense.
Yeah, but you like the recency bias, and I think you should. I think if you look at that over the last 4 or 5 games, that has to be way better than that. I mean, they have not allowed 20 points in a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're a big recency guy. So I would tonight after this, I would look at those numbers, and I want you to text me what their pass defense is the last 5 games where they have not allowed more than 20 points in a game. It's got to be better than that. I'm sorry. It has to be. The defense is really, it's not just the 3 kids on the defensive line. It's everybody now. They're all bringing it, man. So I think it's going to be a hard game for Philly. I'm not saying they're not going to win. Philly's probably going to win. But you know what? This is not too big of a game for the Rams. The Rams have won a Super Bowl already. They have marched into people's buildings and beat them in a row.
That's such
did it already.
That happened 5 years ago.
Nope. I think it was 2021. Wasn't it?
4 years ago.
Yeah. Not bad.
I don't think I'm going to use this. I could get burned twice. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It happened before. But I just think I was a week. I just think I'm a week late in predicting their demise. You know what I mean? Like, I think they played very inspired. I'm still shocked they did it, on the road in Arizona. But now it's traveling all the way to Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's tough. It's going to be cold.
It's a hostile environment. You're coming to the East Coast, playing early in a frigid environment, 20 degrees. And I just don't think it's a good matchup for them at all. I just think it's sort of like the reason why Philly won the first game is exactly why they're going to win this game. And there's going to be there's going to be tremendous pressure going up against a much better quarterback. And I just think it's going to get the Pittsburgh defense.
Well,
going to be the story of this game, just like it was last week.
Not the Pittsburgh defense. You mean the Philly defense?
Sorry, the Philadelphia defense.
Eagles defense. So let me ask you this:
Do
you think the Packers are better than the Rams?
Oh yeah.
You do.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you think that performance last week? Because I didn't think the Eagles were very impressive last week.
I did.
Like, I thought they got the benefit on the opening kickoff. I think the guy led with his head. It should have been a penalty. They forced a fumble and they got the ball and they had a short field and they went right in and scored. To me, that was a missed call. Like, the eye in the sky would have come down and said he led with the crown of his head. He hit the guy in the face Brady's an idiot. Like, the announcers didn't even mention it. Like, I don't understand.
Even with the eye in the sky, Cello, I don't think that's a call that's going to be made.
Bro, I've been watching every game this year. When you lower your head and lead with the crown of your helmet into another guy's fucking head or face like that, it's a penalty every time. The fact that wasn't called and it forced a fumble and gave them a short field. I'm just saying, what was the final in that game? 22-10?
Yeah.
Take away 7.
I'm just saying, Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions.
He did.
That was because of the Philadelphia defense.
I understand that Philadelphia defense is really, really good, and Jalen Carter is the best probably interior defensive lineman in the game. And they have DeJean, and they have the great corner that they drafted. I get it. Philly's really tough. They're really, really hard to beat. I just think you got it. The fact that you're discounting McVay and Stafford to the extent that you are, I don't think is fair. And I think that 6 points is a lot in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of people that have the Eagles and teasers that are just saying they just got to win the game at home. We're going to be fine. And that's a recipe for disaster a lot of times. So it would not surprise me if the Rams won the game. But I understand people liking Philly based on their roster and what they've done this year. And their offensive line and their defense. I get it. I just think that Rams could go in there. If there's any team that can do it, it's them.
I'm trying to keep it really simple this weekend with all these games. And I just see this horribly. I know they played very inspired last weekend, more than any other team.
Correct.
But I think they're going to go back to their, who they truly are, which is not a good defense. And it's a horrible matchup against an offense like this, who's just gonna run it down their throats. They have great wide. They just have so many weapons. I see them taking advantage of it, and their defense speaks for themselves. They're number one in the NFL. You know what I mean? And I just don't see the Rams having success against these guys, especially because, outside of Nacua, Kieran Williams didn't have a great game last week.
He's terrific. He scores. That guy scores
go off.
Every time he plays. He scores a touchdown. Yeah. Every time, and he just hands the ball to his mother. It's the greatest thing ever. He finds his mother and he gives her the ball.
We disagree. So we only really agree so far on Houston plus 10.
10's a good number for Houston, I think.
Yeah,
and we agreed on the over in Detroit. I thought, or no, maybe not.
No,
right,
no. Yeah, because I could see.
All right, so this last game is going to be something else.
I'm tempted to bet the under in the Washington Detroit game for the same reason why the Washington Tampa game went under. Both these teams go for every single fourth down. And they run up and down the field. And when they get into the red zone, it gets tight. And they're going to go for everything. And if they don't get 3 of them, the game goes under. You know what I mean? That's what happened last week. It just they couldn't get in the end zone.
Brad told me that over-unders last week were 0-6. 6 unders.
They all went under.
6 unders, no overs.
Yeah, every single one.
So that's got to change. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
There's a reversion to the mean. Reversion to the mean is big in math.
No, I know.
I'm telling you, be careful under players this week. Just be careful.
Yeah. All right. Now, what do you think of the last game? This is to me the one game that it's like
the Jeff Patterson game. Jeff's going up there.
Yeah, of course.
He's got tickets.
I thought about that today on the way home. It's funny.
Yeah, he's going to be there.
I don't think you can. There's no edge. I don't think it's like you have to just make a guess. Like, I don't think you can make a strong case for why one team is.
Well, it's a 1-point line, right? I mean, the Bills are an underdog. They're not used to being an underdog at home, right? They're 9-0 this year at home. They've been favored every game at home, and they've won every game.
Yeah. So when I look at this, go ahead. I have an opinion.
It's going to be under 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Super, super cold. No wind and maybe snow. So you would think cold weather like that is an advantage to Baltimore because of the way they run the ball with Lamar and with Derrick Henry. And they smashed Buffalo earlier in the year in week 4, 35-10 at home. Mm-hmm. Buffalo is missing a lot of players that day that are all going to be playing this week. Mm-hmm. So they were missing Milano for one, the kid Berard.
Yeah.
Bernard or Berard, whatever his name is, their best tackler. Bernard. One of their starting corners didn't play, and they didn't have Amari Cooper.
Yep.
And Keon Coleman was still a rookie, and he still is, but he's a lot more mature now. So I just think Buffalo is going to be more competitive in this game than they were in that game, number one.
Yep.
Number two, I think this is going to come right down to the end. I think this is going to be an instant classic game. And I just think that Josh Allen has the magic this year on his side. He has the transformation that he has made at quarterback is one of the most mature transformations I've ever seen. He's gone from a guy that was reckless, talented, and turned it over way too much and lost games to a guy that never turns it over, that protects the ball, that knows when to run, knows when it hits the open guy. I mean, spreads the ball around. Doesn't matter who he's throwing to. He finds the open guy and manages the game a lot better than he used to when he was younger. And I just think that this is a cold weather game. I think Lamar is not a cold weather kid. He wears that stupid fucking thing around his head. He looks like an idiot. And I think he's going to be freezing cold. He's also frail and thin. He's going to be freezing. And
he's anything but frail, dude. Come on.
Dude, you ever see his legs? He's got chicken legs down there. Let me tell you, those things are going to be cold. Like, he's used to running around like in Florida and Louisville and shit. He's not used to running around 0-degree weather. I think it's going to matter. And I think that it's going to be close, but I think at the very, very end, Buffalo is going to find a way somehow to win this game.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what the score is going to be. And I just think it's going to be competitive. I just think it's going to be, these teams are very close. It's nothing like the first game when Buffalo was really injured. They didn't have any players. And I think they have a lot of confidence in their own building. The fans are going to be crazy, super, super drunk and loud and nuts. And I think it's going to be an epic game. So I'm rooting, obviously. I would like to see Buffalo win. I do have some futures money, believe it or not, on Baltimore to win the AFC. So it wouldn't kill me if Baltimore ended up winning the game, like as far as my bets go, but I never win these bets anyway. So I'm imagining that Buffalo will win.
Yeah. All right. We agree. I think I've thought a lot about this, and it's funny. I think most of the first part of the week, I thought that it's Baltimore's year, but then the more I think about it, the more I have to rely on my personal belief that Lamar Jackson is not going to win a big game, and he's burned me before, and it's one of those fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. He's done it to me before, and I've learned my lesson, and I've never bet on him since, and I'm not going to start this week. I did it last year. I'm pretty sure in this exact same game.
Baltimore.
No. I did it. I bet the Chiefs last year in Baltimore because I didn't think Lamar could win that game.
That's right.
And I don't think he can win this game because he burned me in this game. I think 3 years ago, may have been 4 years ago in Tennessee, or I know he's thrown an interception in the end zone in Buffalo to lose an AFC championship.
But do you think the fact they have Derrick Henry is going to make all the difference in this type of a game?
No. I mean, I think and I think that's what was leading me to believe that Baltimore was finally going to get over the hump.
Yeah.
But I think from a defensive, scheming standpoint, they have to try to execute what you were incapable of executing,
right?
Which is just stop the run.
Yes.
Everyone knows it's coming. And I think, and I don't love Buffalo's run defense. So I don't think they're going to they're going to shut them down. But I think they'll slow them down. And I think they will force Lamar into making mistakes. And I think they'll force him into making bad decisions, even though every commentator I listened to this week doesn't think he makes bad decisions anymore.
Well, he's got 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Right.
It's pretty fucking unreal.
He'll make a bad decision on Sunday. I'm
just saying,
guarantee it.
It's
guarantee it.
The year he's had is impressive.
I've seen it. I've seen it enough times in these situations. And I think he's going to do it again. And I agree with you that it's Josh Allen maturity. And I think it's not trivial how important this home field is for Buffalo. I think it's absolutely a huge advantage for Buffalo and their fans and being at home in this game against Baltimore this year.
I hope you're right.
I like Josh in this situation. I think, and I even like them next week. I think that's the bet that I'm probably going to make is a Buffalo future to either win the Super Bowl or get there against Detroit or Philadelphia. Because I think they're both going to advance. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Josh Allen's year. And I think you have to think about this game because it's so close. You just have to think about it. Which quarterback do you want? And I'd rather have Allen. You know what I mean? I'd rather have Josh this year. I totally agree with what you said. He's matured, and he may make a mistake also, but he's made so much less this year than he used to. And I think a guy like Cook is going to absolutely have an incredible game. And the wide receivers are all good. I mean, they're all good, but I think it's I have to think of it. Who'd I rather have, Josh Allen or Lamar? And I'm taking.
So you think this? What do you think of the total? It's 46.
56.
46, I think.
Oh, 46. No opinion. No. Opinion.
Tough to call with that weather. You don't know.
Yeah.
I would think that these teams
probably favor the under.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. So listen, I don't. This is a really hard game to handicap. I think it's probably a coin flip game.
Yeah.
Just because both teams are so. I think they're pretty even, in terms of statistically, and I guess that's why the line is what it is. So, I guess hopefully you won most of your bets and you make most of your money before this game kicks off, because I think if you have to rely on this game to chase, good luck.
Yeah. Now that said, I have to say that if so, basically right now the Ravens are laying 1. Is that the line?
Yeah.
I gotta say, love Buffalo in a tease.
Plus the 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him in my 3-teamer plus 11.
Yeah. I mean,
I think there's probably a lot of people
plus 7 is great
that might have that. I'm not sure, but that's what I have. I have Kansas City, Detroit, and Buffalo in that 3-teamer. I won't bet Baltimore. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Baltimore won. They're a supremely talented team. Lamar's having a career year. He's already won 2 MVPs. He's going to win a 3rd. His numbers are off the charts. So if he walks out of there with a win and marches into Kansas City or Houston, wherever, I guess if they play Houston, they'd be at home. Probably go to Kansas City, right? Is where they'd have to go.
Yeah. And everyone's got to go to KC if
they're very capable of winning that game.
Yeah.
I would have to believe, but it would be very interesting.
If Likely doesn't step out of bounds in the first game of the year, they would have won that game.
Yeah, just that back foot. Wow, was it changing times after pickleball? That was unbelievable. I thought he was in. So did Tirico, by the way. Tirico thought he was in.
Mark my words. Lamar is gonna do something stupid.
Okay.
Or make a bad decision. I don't know if maybe that's one and the same. But I think I've seen this movie before.
I hope you're right.
We're gonna see it Buffalo
again. All right, so we're on Buffalo.
Yeah, he's gonna be shaking his head in disgust at what he did again.
Right. So we're on Buffalo and we're on Houston plus the 10.
Yeah. Now, one final thing, and then we'll end the show.
Ohio State,
Notre Dame. What do you think?
So the interesting thing I saw, and I put it out on our text today, I thought was really unbelievable. So Notre Dame has not beaten Ohio State in football since 1936 in a game.
That's sick.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
I sat up on my couch when I saw that last night. But also Notre Dame, and I think this is correct. You could double check me. I was a couple bourbons in, but I do believe that they are 7-0 in national championship games. So 8 points seems like a lot.
Yeah,
I would, if I don't know anything about college football, but I'm going to take the 8.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
I probably will also, because I don't want to lose, if Ohio State happens to lose this game, I got to come out of it with something, you know what I mean? And that's, so I do think it's a little bit too many.
But what about Gerard's bet? Gerard has a bet that he got KC at 8.5 down to 2.5, and Ohio State he took down to 2.
No, that's nice.
In a teaser.
These teasers this weekend that you can throw Ohio State into, where they're
those are Wong teasers. Wong teasers. If you can get Wongs, that's unbelievable number. Then you should do it.
Yeah, look, tremendous pressure on Ryan Day. It's like if he wins a national championship at Ohio State, he's going to have the same number of championships that Urban Meyer has and Jim Tressel has.
Yeah.
One.
Impressive.
And it's not easy to win these games.
No.
And it's like, I know we've seen some blowouts in recent year with, with Saban and Alabama. They had some, these national championship games tend to be lopsided and blowouts, but there's just, and it wouldn't entirely surprise me.
Well, I mean,
is Notre perspective, we have it. The Buckeyes have the talent to absolutely crush. But the way that they execute, and Will Howard, I kind of think part of me thinks that the hardest game this whole run will have, and when we look back at it, will have been the Texas game, not this game. I just think Texas and Ewers, like they had such
that was a real team.
That was a real team. That was an unbelievable game. How it came down to the last really possession. The scoop and score by Sawyer. But I think and the fact that Texas had been in so many big games that they won. I don't know. I think if Ohio State gets some breaks, go their way early, it could turn into an ugly game, like
a TCU kind of blowout type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 I don't know. I think, and I don't know much about. I mean, I think Notre Dame hasn't played the greatest schedule this year.
Yeah.
But I think they've won the games that, when they have to win them. And I know Georgia had no quarterback, so they got that advantage there.
They've had a kind of an easier path in my
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
Penn State didn't play great, but one thing I'm definitely encouraged by and excited about is that they've been taking money all week. So I'm so happy that people aren't betting.
Well,
on
yeah,
Ohio
Notre
State.
Dame is like the Yankees. I mean, are you kidding me? They're an institution in this country. People love Notre Dame. I mean, it's going to be a national holiday. Is that Monday night?
I hope the referees aren't part of that group.
But, that's going to be Monday night, right?
That's Monday night, yeah.
So that's inauguration party day into Martin Luther King, and then into that. It's going to be unbelievable. Stock market's closed. There's no gambling on stocks. Everyone's focused on Trump, Martin Luther, and Ohio State, Notre Dame. What a day.
Yeah. So
wow, I'm going to have to buy some Tullamore Dew.
I know everyone wants to see a close game, but I'd be much more comfortable if we get up early and look, Jeremiah Smith was basically shut down in the Texas game.
Is that number 4? No.
Yeah, our freshman.
He's unbelievable.
He's incredible. He really got kind of shut down on the Texas
game.
He
killed Oregon.
The other thing is Notre Dame, I don't know if they'll stay true to this, but basically they don't play zone. They play man-to-man, and we have shredded man-to-man defenses all year long.
Oh, boy.
Especially with him. I mean, we have 3 NFL receivers, between Tate and Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith. Will Howard's a bit of a question mark. Like, I don't think, he's kind of like – not exactly like an NFL prototype quarterback at all.
Didn't you have problems on your offensive line? Those have been fixed?
Yeah, those have been fixed. They've looked incredible. They've looked incredible.
I just think Notre Dame plays above their pedigree a lot in these games. And I think I'm not going to call it divine intervention, but there's a higher power there or something that motivates these guys. It's going to be, I would be surprised if they got blown out.
Well, you bring up an important point, and I don't think it's a higher power. I think they get together, and what they do is they motivate themselves to win game based on toughness. So they basically, and that's a bit of an Achilles heel.
They will themselves. They will themselves
on the toughness side. So the reason why we lose to Michigan is on the toughness angle. The knock on Ryan Day is that they're not tough enough in the trenches. And so Ohio State has to come in with that chip on their shoulder that people don't think they're tough enough to win a national championship and get into fist fights in the trenches and win the battle on the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah, because they have the skill position players to beat them.
Of course. They always.
Right. Interesting. You just froze. Oh, there you go. Now you're back.
Yeah, if they're not successful running it, hopefully they're not stubborn enough to latch onto that like they did against Michigan. And I think that they learned their lessons.
All right. Well, listen, I'm gonna wish you good luck. I don't know anything about college football. I'm self-proclaimed NFL guy, but I would wish you good luck. I hope you win a national championship, and I hope you enjoy the inauguration and have yourself a nice red, white, and blue drink, and enjoy the next 4 years of this great nation. Swinging the other way. I think it's about time that we brought back, we get back, a little bit of what we lost. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. There's a lot of parties planned for Monday for Trump. It's a big day. So for America, and I'm excited about it. I think
forward to that also.
And I think the games are going to be great this weekend. I think it's going to be exciting. The NFL last weekend, I thought the product on the field was not that compelling. And I think people are going to watch the games because that's what they do. But I'd like to see more competitive games. I'd like to see a better brand of football being played. Brady's been calling it out all year that the league is down. The league is down. The quality of play is down. And you know what? We need to see better football, and we deserve it. And I think these games will deliver.
You think the only underdog that's going to win this weekend is the Rams?
Yeah. Well, Buffalo's an underdog, but not really.
Right.
They are, but they're not. I mean, you got to throw that out. I'd say of the 3, but I also agree with you. The most shocking one would be if Washington beat Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the most shocking one. Houston, in a weird way, if Kansas City comes out flat and they hang around and maybe they get a turnover late, I don't think they will. I mean, Mahomes never loses this game. So, but the Rams are the team to me that have the best shot of actually going in there and winning a game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I disagree with that, but
maybe we'll Venmo that. We could Venmo that.
I think all home teams advance, and that's a bet that I think I'm going to set up, whether it be a money line parlay. I may get a little bit if I throw the Bills into that. That'll probably be positive money, right?
Interesting. Yeah, why not?
Actually, let me do that now. Let's see. Detroit -9.5. Oh wait, hold on.
What are you doing? Money line parlay with the home team?
A money line parlay. So it would be Chiefs, Detroit -550, Eagles -275, and Buffalo -101.
It should be 10-1, but with these odds, it's going to be more like 3-1.
It pays almost 3-1. Yeah,
3-1. Yeah.
280. Good
luck. All right, guys.
I don't want to do that because of God forbid Buffalo loses.
Yeah. Well, good luck, everyone, with your bets. And, want to make a bet. It looks like first place is pretty much gone to the leader, but we're playing for second and third and fourth. That's it.
I don't know about that. I think, Dougie Fresh actually stumbled last weekend.
Still got over $1 million.
But he's at $1 million.
Yeah.
And there are chasers that are well within reach. And the big mistake you know what he did last weekend? He had a $300,000 bet on
over in the Philly game.
On Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had a 4-teamer with Philly and the over.
Yeah.
And
the over killed him in that game.
That's right.
When Saquon went down. When Saquon slid.
So he ended up breaking even. He was set to be at 1.6, and then it really would have been over. But now it's actually still a game.
Yeah. I begged Brad not to bet the Eagles because I like his action early. I think he's going to wake up on Sunday morning with about 700,000. I go, why would you, whatever your brother does, don't do it. I mean, at least one of you will be there,
Right.
And so I said, just take $500 out of Carrie's account and bet it on the Eagles.
I'll make a prediction right now without even knowing what they're betting based on everything we talked about. And that is if the Rams win this game.
Yeah. Oh, dead.
They're going to be extremely vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, not only they got to win, they're going to have to win because they're going to put them in a 4-teamer or a 3-teamer or whatever. But yes, the answer is if the Rams win this game by seven or more points, they both might be at 0. All right, brother. I love this pod. Have a great night.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck with everything.
Big bets this weekend. Good luck, guys.
Good luck, guys. Bye-bye.
See you, bud. All right. We ended up going an hour anyway.
I know.
Well,